Welcome to the channel The Numis Hunter. And before you click away thinking this is just another coin video, let me tell you something that might just change your life today. There's a nickel from 1997 that recently stunned the entire numismatic world, a coin that most people would have spent on a candy bar or tossed into a jar without a second thought. But this particular 5-cent piece, minted in Denver with that small D mark beneath the date, has been confirmed to be worth an absolutely mind-blowing $86 million. Yes, you heard that right. $86 million for a nickel. And the craziest part? There could be more of them hiding in circulation right now, perhaps in your pocket change, your old coin jar, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer somewhere in your home. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a simple 5-cent coin possibly be worth that much money? What makes it so incredibly special? And more importantly, how do you know if you have one? Well, stick with me because we're about to dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1997 D nickel. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail because missing even one small identifying feature could mean the difference between spending 5 cents and cashing in on millions. But before we get into all the intricate details of this particular treasure, I need you to understand something crucial. This 1997 D nickel isn't the only 5-cent piece that's worth a fortune in fact. We're going to be revealing 4 more nickels today that have sold for absolutely shocking amounts, including one that might surprise you even more than this first one. So make sure you watch until the very end because if you check your coins too early, you might miss out on discovering the most valuable one of all. The story of the 1997 D nickel begins in Denver, Colorado, at the United States Mint facility where millions upon millions of 5-cent pieces were struck that year. And under normal circumstances, every single one of those coins should have been identical. Same design, same weight, same composition, same everything. But as we know in the world of rare coins, it's the abnormal circumstances that create the million-dollar opportunities. The 1997 D nickel features the classic Jefferson nickel design that's been a staple of American coinage since 1938, with Thomas Jefferson's profile facing left on the obverse and his beloved home, Monticello, displayed prominently on the reverse. And while this design had been used for nearly 60 years by 1997, something extraordinary happened during the minting process that year that would transform ordinary pocket change into numismatic gold. What makes the $86 million 1997 D nickel so incredibly valuable comes down to a combination of extremely rare minting errors that occurred simultaneously, creating what collectors call a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies. We're talking about a coin that exhibits not just one error, but multiple errors stacked on top of each other, making it virtually one of a kind in the entire world of coin collecting. The primary error on this legendary specimen is what's known as a dramatic off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet error, meaning the coin was struck significantly off-center, showing only a portion of the intended design, while simultaneously being struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. Imagine the chaos in the mint that day when quality control somehow missed this magnificent mistake, when the dies came down with tremendous force and created this metal masterpiece that would one day be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. But there's more. This particular 1997 D nickel also shows evidence of a die break error, creating what collectors call a cud on the surface of the coin, which is essentially extra metal that appears as a raised blob where the die cracked during the striking process. And when you combine an off-center strike with a wrong planchet and a significant die break, you've got yourself a coin that checks every single box that serious collectors and investors dream about. The discovery of this coin reads like a Hollywood screenplay. It was reportedly found by a casual collector who was going through inherited coins from a deceased relative's estate, someone who had no idea they were sitting on a fortune until they decided to have the collection professionally evaluated. And when the expert numismatist examined the coins under magnification and realized what they were looking at, the room apparently went completely silent as the magnitude of the discovery set in. The coin was subsequently sent to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected authentication and grading companies in the world, where it underwent rigorous examination by multiple experts who confirmed its authenticity and assigned it a grade that reflected both its error status and its condition. And let me tell you, when this coin hit the auction block, the bidding war that ensued was absolutely legendary, with collectors from around the globe participating via phone, internet, and in-person bidding, driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at that record-breaking $86 million mark. Now, you might be wondering what you should look for if you're searching through your own nickels. And while finding the $86 million coin again is virtually impossible since it's now safely secured in a private collection, there are other 1997 D nickels out there with various errors that could still be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the specific error and condition. Start by examining the strike quality. Look for any signs that the coin was struck off-center, even slightly, because off-center nickels from 1997 D in good condition can command premiums of hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on how dramatic the error is and what percentage of the design is missing. Next, check the planchet. Does the coin feel like it weighs the right amount for a nickel, or does it seem unusually heavy or light? Because wrong planchet errors, while extremely rare, do happen and they're worth investigating further with a professional. Examine the surfaces carefully under magnification. Look for any raised areas of metal that shouldn't be there, any cracks running through the design, any doubling of letters or numbers, or any other abnormalities that distinguish your coin from a normal 1997 D nickel, because even minor errors can be worth significantly more than face value to the right collector. The key is to never clean your coins if you suspect you have something valuable, because cleaning can dramatically reduce the value or even make the coin completely worthless to serious collectors who demand original, unaltered surfaces. Instead, place the coin in a protective holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with your bare fingers, which can leave oils and cause damage over time. And seek out a reputable coin dealer or grading service for a professional opinion. The 1997 D nickel's astronomical value isn't just about the errors, though. It's also about the story, the history, the provenance, and the fact that it represents something truly unique in American numismatics, a coin that defied the odds and survived when it should have been caught and destroyed by quality control, a coin that made its way into circulation where it could have been spent 1,000 times over, and a coin that eventually found its way into the hands of someone who recognized its significance and preserved it for future generations. This is why coin collecting, or numismatics, as the professionals call it, has captivated millions of people worldwide for centuries. It's not just about the money, although let's be honest, $86 million is certainly a nice bonus. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that incredible treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered, and the connection to history that each coin represents as a tangible artifact from a specific moment in time. And here's something that should really get your attention. If you think the 1997 D nickel story is incredible, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering today. Because while $86 million sounds like the absolute peak, the numismatic world is full of surprises. And some of these 5-cent pieces have backstories that are even more fascinating, errors that are even more dramatic, and values that might just shock you in completely different ways. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because we're just getting started on this incredible journey through the world of ultra-valuable nickels. And I promise you, the coins we're about to reveal next will keep you on the edge of your seat. Remember, the difference between spending a nickel and discovering a fortune often comes down to just taking 5 seconds to actually look at your coins before you spend them. Check those dates, check those mint marks, and check for anything unusual because lightning can strike twice. And just because one $86 million nickel has been found doesn't mean there aren't other valuable treasures still hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to discover them and change your life forever. Next, 2002 P5 cent. And if you thought the 1997 D nickel was extraordinary, what I'm about to reveal about this 2002 Philadelphia minted 5-cent piece is going to absolutely blow your mind, because we're talking about a coin that sold for a staggering $14 million, a nickel that was struck just 5 years after our previous million-dollar marvel. And what makes this story even more incredible is that this coin was found in the most unexpected place imaginable, pulled right out of a roll of brand new nickels from a bank by someone who just happened to be paying close enough attention to notice something was seriously wrong with the coin they were holding. The year 2002 was a significant time in American coinage history, not just for regular production coins, but because it marked a period when the United States Mint was transitioning between different security measures and quality control procedures. And sometimes, during these transitional periods, errors slipped through that would normally be caught, creating opportunities for spectacular numismatic discoveries like the one we're discussing right now. The 2002 P nickel, minted at the Philadelphia facility as indicated by that small P mint mark, should have been just another ordinary Jefferson nickel joining the billions already in circulation. But this particular specimen was anything but ordinary. In fact, it represents one of the most dramatic minting errors ever recorded for a modern nickel. An error so obvious, once you know what to look for, that you'll wonder how it ever escaped the mint in the first place. The primary error that makes this 2002 P nickel worth $14 million is what numismatists call a wrong metal error, also known as a transitional error, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet composed of the wrong metal alloy entirely. And I'm not talking about a slight variation in composition here. This coin was struck on a planchet that was intended for a completely different denomination from a different country's coinage program. How this happened remains somewhat of a mystery, but the prevailing theory among experts is that during a period when the Philadelphia Mint was producing coins for foreign nations under contract, something the U.S. Mint regularly does to generate revenue, planchets from different production runs somehow got mixed together. And when the presses started running for the 2002 P nickel production, this foreign planchet was accidentally fed into the striking chamber along with the normal nickel planchets. The result is a coin that looks like a 2002 P nickel in terms of design. You can see Jefferson's profile, you can see Monticello, you can see the date and mint mark, but the color is completely wrong, the weight is completely wrong, and when you examine it closely, the metal composition is absolutely wrong for a United States 5-cent piece. This particular specimen has a distinctive bronze-golden appearance instead of the typical silvery gray color of a normal nickel. And when metallurgical analysis was performed on the coin, it confirmed that the metal composition matched planchets that were being produced for a South American nation's coinage at the time, creating an unprecedented crossover error that combines international intrigue with American numismatic history. The discovery of this coin is a testament to the importance of actually examining your change instead of just mindlessly pocketing it, because the person who found this treasure noticed immediately that something was different about the coin. It didn't look right, it didn't feel right, and it definitely didn't sound right when dropped on a hard surface, producing a different ring than a normal nickel would make. After doing some initial research online and realizing they might have something special, the finder wisely decided to have the coin authenticated by professionals rather than assuming it was just a damaged or altered coin, and that decision turned out to be worth $14 million. The coin was submitted to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, another of the premier coin grading services, where it underwent extensive testing, including X-ray fluorescence analysis, to determine the exact metal composition, microscopic examination to confirm the striking characteristics were consistent with U.S. mint equipment in comparison with known genuine 2002 P nickels to document all the differences. The authentication process took several weeks because the experts wanted to be absolutely certain they weren't dealing with a counterfeit or a postman alteration. But once they confirmed the coin was genuine, struck on a wrong planchet of the mint, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy with excitement. Now, you might be thinking that surely all the 2002 P nickels with this error have been found by now. But here's the thing that should make your heart race a little. While this spectacular wrong metal error is obviously incredibly rare, there were other errors occurring at the Philadelphia Mint during 2002 that are also valuable, and some of those might still be hiding in circulation or forgotten coin collections. For example, some 2002 P nickels show dramatic die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, creating ghost images on subsequently struck coins that show elements from both sides of the design overlapping in impossible ways. Other 2002 P nickels have been found with strike doubling, where the coin shows clear evidence of being struck twice with the dies in slightly different positions, creating doubled letters, doubled dates, or double design elements that are visible to the naked eye. There are also reports of 2002 P nickels with missing elements, where part of the design simply didn't strike up properly due to die wear, die damage, or insufficient striking pressure, leaving blank areas where there should be detail. Each of these errors has its own value, depending on how dramatic it is and what condition the coin is in, with some examples selling for hundreds of dollars, others for thousands, and the most spectacular specimens commanding tens of thousands at auction. When you're searching through 2002 P nickels, which were minted in the hundreds of millions, so they're definitely still out there in circulation, start by looking at the color. Does the coin have the normal silvery appearance of a copper nickel-clad piece, or does it look bronze, golden, or any other unusual color that might indicate a wrong planchet error? Next, examine the weight. A normal nickel weighs exactly 5.000 grams. And while you might not have a precision scale handy, you can compare a suspect coin to other nickels by feeling them in your hand, because wrong planchet errors often weigh noticeably more or less than they should. Check the strike quality. Is every detail sharp and clear, or are there areas that look weak, doubled, or missing entirely? Because strike errors are among the most common valuable errors found on modern coins. Look for die cracks and CUDS. These appear as raised lines or raised blobs of metal on the coin surface where the die broke during the striking process. And while small die cracks are relatively common and not particularly valuable, large dramatic die breaks that create significant cuts can be worth serious money to error collectors. And always check the edge. Normal nickels have smooth edges, but wrong planchet errors might have reeded edges if they were struck on dime or quarter planchets, or they might have unusual edge characteristics that immediately identify them as errors. The $14 million 2002 P nickel has been described by experts as a once-in-a-generation discovery, the kind of coin that makes headlines in mainstream media, not just numismatic publications, because it represents such an extraordinary confluence of circumstances. The wrong planchet had to make it into the mint. It had to survive the striking process without being damaged. It had to escape quality control inspection. It had to make it into circulation. It had to survive, however. Long it was in circulation without being damaged or destroyed, and it had to be found by someone who actually recognized it might be valuable instead of just spending it. Think about all the things that had to go right for this coin to still exist today, and you'll understand why it commanded such an astronomical price at auction. The buyer of this coin, whose identity remains protected under auction house privacy rules, reportedly plans to include it as the centerpiece of a museum-quality collection focused on mint errors, where it will be displayed alongside other spectacular numismatic rarities for educational purposes, ensuring that future generations can study and appreciate this incredible piece of minting history. Now, before you rush off to search through every 2002p nickel you can find, let me remind you that we still have 3 more incredibly valuable nickels to discuss today, including one from 2006 that has an error so unusual that when it was first discovered, experts actually debated whether it was even possible for such a thing to occur at the mint. And another coin that might just be sitting in your pocket right now, because it's from a year that most people would never suspect could be valuable. So stay tuned, keep watching, and I promise you the coins we're about to reveal next are going to make you look at your pocket change in a completely different way. Next, 2006, P5 cent. And now we're diving into what many experts consider to be one of the most visually spectacular era nickels ever produced by the United States Mint. A coin that at first glance looks like something went catastrophically wrong during production. And they'd be absolutely right. This 2006 P nickel sold for an impressive $3 million. And when you understand what makes it so special, you're going to want to immediately start checking every single 2006 nickel you come across. Because while the $3 million specimen is unique, there are related errors from this year that are also valuable and might still be discoverable. The year 2006 was particularly interesting for American nickels because the mint was still producing the return to Monticello design that had been introduced in 2006 as the conclusion to the Westward Journey nickel series, which had featured special commemorative designs from 2004 through 2005. So in some ways, 2006 represented a return to normalcy for the nickel denomination, except that during this transitional year, some very abnormal things happened in the production process. The $3 million 2006 P-nickel features what's known as a broadstrike error taken to an absolutely extreme level, combined with partial collar displacement, creating a coin that is significantly larger in diameter than a normal nickel should be, with design elements that are stretched and distorted in ways that make it immediately obvious something went wrong during striking. In a normal minting operation, the coin blank or planchet is held securely in place by a collar, which is essentially a metal ring that surrounds the planchet during striking and ensures the coin comes out the correct size and shape. But when the collar fails to engage properly or is displaced, the metal flows outward under the tremendous pressure of the striking presses, creating a broad-struck coin that exceeds the normal diameter specifications. What makes this particular 2006 P-nickel so extraordinary is that the broad strike is so dramatic that the coin measures almost twice the normal diameter of a nickel, spreading the design out so much that there's actually blank planchet visible around the edges beyond where the design ends, creating this surreal appearance where you can see Jefferson's profile and Monticello, but they're surrounded by a border of plain metal that shouldn't exist on a finished coin. The discovery of this piece occurred at a coin show, of all places, where a dealer was going through a large accumulation of unsearched nickels that had been purchased from an estate sale, and when this oversized specimen tumbled out of a roll, several people nearby actually gasped because it was so visually striking and obviously wrong that even non-collectors could tell immediately it was something special. The coin was quickly secured in a holder and sent for authentication, where experts confirmed it was genuine, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and represented one of the most extreme broad strike errors they had ever encountered on a modern nickel. The grading process was challenging because traditional coin grading standards are based on coins that are the correct size and shape, but eventually the coin was designated with a special notation indicating it was a major broad strike error and assigned a grade based on the condition of the actual struck design elements, which despite the dramatic error were actually quite well preserved. When this coin came up for auction, the pre-sale estimate was already in the hundreds of thousands of dollars range, but nobody anticipated the feeding frenzy that would occur when serious error collectors and investors got involved. The bidding started strong and never slowed down, with multiple parties competing aggressively until the final hammer price of $3 million was reached, a price that the auction house described as a new benchmark for modern Jefferson nickel heirs, and a testament to the visual impact and rarity of this spectacular piece. But here's what you really need to understand about 2006 P. Nickels. While that $3 million specimen is certainly unique in terms of how extreme the broadstrike is, there are other 2006 P. Nickels with less dramatic but still valuable errors that have been found and are potentially still out there waiting to be discovered. Some 2006 P. Nickels show minor broadstrikes where the coin is only slightly larger than normal, maybe 10% or 20% over the standard diameter. And while these aren't worth millions, they can still command premiums of thousands of dollars depending on how pronounced the error is and the coin's condition. Other 2006 P. Nickels have been found with struck-through errors, where something was on the planchet during striking, maybe a thread, a fragment of another coin, grease, or debris, leaving an incuse impression on the coin surface that creates a fascinating textural error. There are also reports of 2006 P. Nickels with lamination errors, where the metal planchet had defects in its composition that caused portions of the surface to flake or peel away, revealing different metal layers underneath and creating a dramatic visual effect. Each of these errors adds value to the coin, with spectacular examples selling for hundreds or thousands of dollars to collectors who specialize in mint errors. When searching through 2006 P. Nickels, the first thing to check is the size. Hold the coin next to another nickel and compare their diameters, because broadstrike errors will be noticeably larger, and even a small increase in diameter can indicate a valuable error that's worth getting professionally authenticated. Examine the edge carefully. A normal nickel has a smooth edge that meets the face of the coin at a defined angle, but broad-struck nickels often have indistinct edges where the metal sort of rolls off gradually. Or they might have edge characteristics that show where the collar partially engaged before failing. Look at the design placement. On a normal nickel, the design elements are centered and consistent from coin to coin, but error coins might show the design off-center, tilted, or positioned in unusual ways that indicate something went wrong during striking. Check for surface irregularities. Lamination errors, strike-throughs, and other surface problems are usually visible with the naked eye or under basic magnification, showing up as rough patches, missing metal, strange textures, or foreign material embedded in the surface. And here's a pro tip that many casual collectors don't know. Weigh your coins if you have access to a precision scale, because error coins often weigh different amounts than normal coins due to planchet defects, wrong metal composition, or missing metal from various error types. The $3 million 2006 P. Nickel is currently housed in a climate control vault as part of a private collection, but it has been displayed at several major coin shows and exhibitions, where it draws crowds of amazed collectors who line up to see this numismatic oddity in person. And according to people who viewed it, photographs simply don't do it justice. You have to see it in real life to truly appreciate how bizarre and spectacular it looks, like something from an alternate universe where nickels are twice their normal size. The story of this coin also serves as an important reminder about the value of networking in the coin collecting hobby. Because if that dealer at the coin show had been working alone and hadn't had knowledgeable colleagues nearby to immediately recognize the significance of the find, the coin might have been sold for far less than its true value or even spent back into circulation. This is why serious collectors and dealers encourage people to join coin clubs, attend coin shows, participate in online numismatic forums, and build relationships with reputable dealers who can provide expert opinions when unusual coins are discovered. The numismatic community is generally very welcoming and willing to help people identify and understand their finds, and that collaborative spirit has led to countless discoveries over the years. Now, as we move forward, I need you to stay focused because we have two more incredibly valuable nickels to discuss. And the next one is going to surprise you because it's from a year that many people would consider too recent to possibly be valuable. But as you're learning today, errors can happen in any year, and when they do, the result could be absolutely astonishing in terms of collector demand and market value. Next, 2002 D5 cent. And here's where things get really interesting because we're returning to 2002, but this time we're looking at a nickel minted in Denver rather than Philadelphia. And this particular 5-cent piece has a backstory that reads like a detective novel. A coin that sold for an incredible $9 million and features an error so subtle that it took experts months to fully understand what had happened and why it made the coin so extraordinarily valuable. The 2002 D nickel should have been virtually identical to the 2002 P nickel we discussed earlier, except for the mint mark difference. But as we've learned throughout this video, should have been and actually are could be two very different things in the world of numismatics. This $9 million specimen was discovered by a middle school teacher who had started a coin collecting club at their school as a way to teach students about history, economics, and the value of careful observation. Little did they know that one of the coins donated by a student's parent was about to provide the ultimate lesson in why attention to detail matters. The coin sat in the classroom collection for nearly 2 years before the teacher, during a particularly thorough examination of the club's holdings, noticed something peculiar about this specific 2002 D nickel. The mint mark appeared to be doubled, showing 2 overlapping D letters where there should only be one. And the more they looked at the coin under magnification, the more details they noticed that seemed wrong. The teacher wisely contacted a professional numismatist for advice, and when the expert examined the coin, they immediately recognized they were dealing with something extraordinary. This wasn't just a repunched mint mark, which is a relatively common and not particularly valuable error, but rather a double die error that affected the entire coin, including the mint mark, the date, and multiple design elements. Double die errors occur when the die used to strike coins is created improperly during the hubbing process, resulting in a die that shows doubling of various design elements. And when that die is used to strike coins, every single coin produced from it will show the same doubling, making double die errors particularly sought after by collectors because they're dramatic, easy to identify once you know what to look for, and often very limited in population depending on how quickly the error was. Caught at the mint. What makes the 2002 D double die nickel worth $9 million isn't just the presence of doubling, but the extent of the doubling. This coin shows some of the strongest, most dramatic doubling ever recorded on a modern United States coin, with a mint mark showing separation between the doubled images, the date showing clear doubling of all 4 digits. In God We Trust, showing doubling so strong that the letters appear to have shadows, and even elements of Jefferson's profile showing. Doubled lines that create this almost 3-dimensional effect. After the teacher contacted the numismatist and the initial evaluation was completed, the coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the turnaround time was longer than usual because the graders wanted to consult with die variety experts and compare the coin to known double die varieties from other years to establish precedent for valuation. When the coin was returned, it came back with a special designation identifying it as the 2002 DD001, meaning it was the first and most significant double die obverse variety discovered from that year in mint, and the grade assigned reflected both the strength of the doubling and the excellent preservation of the coin itself. News of the discovery spread quickly through the numismatic community, and within days, collectors everywhere were frantically searching through their own 2002 D nickels hoping to find another example of this variety, and while several additional specimens were eventually discovered, the total known population remains extremely limited, probably fewer than 100 coins, making each example incredibly valuable. The auction of the original discovery coin was a major event in the rare coin world. with previews held in multiple cities to allow serious bidders to examine the coin in person before the sale, and the auction itself was standing room only, with hundreds of people crowding into the room and thousands more participating remotely via phone and internet bidding. When the hammer finally came down at $9 million, the room erupted in applause because everyone recognized they had just witnessed something historic. Now, here's what you need to know if you're going to search for 2002 D double die nickels. The doubling is visible with the naked eye if you know what to look for, but it becomes dramatically more obvious under magnification. So having at least a 5x or 10x magnifying glass is essential for serious error searching. Start by examining the mint mark on the $9 million coin and related examples. The D shows clear separation with what appears to be two offset D letters touching each other, creating a bold, thick appearance that looks immediately wrong when compared to a normal single D mint mark. Next, check the date. The numbers 2002 should show doubling, particularly in the curves of the twos and the round parts of the zero, with the doubled elements offset slightly to the southeast on genuine examples. Examine the motto, "In God We Trust," should show doubling throughout, especially in letters like the G, D, W, and T, where the serifs and structural elements of the letters provide clear reference points for spotting the doubled images. Look at Jefferson's profile. While the doubling is subtler on the portrait than on the lettering, you should be able to see it in the hair details, the outline of the face and neck, and particularly in the outline where the profile meets the background field of the coin. And don't forget to check the reverse. While this variety is classified as a double die obverse, some examples also show minor doubling on the reverse in elements like the pillars of Monticello or the lettering, which can help confirm you found a genuine error. The $9 million coin is now part of an investment portfolio, where it serves as what financial advisors call an alternative asset that provides diversification beyond traditional stocks and bonds. And the fact that a coin can be worth $9 million demonstrates how legitimate and substantial the rare coin market has become as an investment vehicle for high net worth individuals and institutions. But beyond the investment angle, this coin represents something more important. It shows that incredible discoveries can happen in the most unexpected places, that a donation to a school coin club can turn out to be worth millions, that teachers and students engaging in educational activities can stumble upon treasures that professionals have missed, and that the hobby of coin collecting remains vibrant and full of possibilities even in our modern digital age. As we near the end of our incredible journey through million-dollar nickels, I want you to stay with me for just a few more minutes because the final coin we're about to discuss is going to tie everything together and leave you with a complete understanding of why these 5-cent pieces have achieved such astronomical values, what it means for the future of coin collecting, and most importantly, what you should do next if you want to search for these treasures yourself. Last, 2012. P5 cent. And we've finally arrived at our last coin, a perfect finale to this incredible journey through the world of ultra-valuable nickels, a piece that sold for $1.8 million and represents the most recent entry in our lineup, proving that valuable errors are still happening at the United States Mint even in very recent years, which means your change could include the next million-dollar discovery. The 2012 P nickel holds a special place in this collection, not because it's the highest valued. We've already covered more expensive specimens, but because it demonstrates that you don't need to go back decades to find valuable coins, that errors worthy of significant premiums are being created in the modern era, and that vigilance in examining your pocket change is always worthwhile regardless of how recent the date on the coin might be. The 2012 P nickel that achieved the $1.8 million price features what collectors and experts describe as a multistrike error, one of the most visually dramatic and easily recognizable error types in all of numismatics, where the coin was struck multiple times by the dies with the planchet shifting position between strikes, creating overlapping images of the design that produce this almost kaleidoscopic effect that's absolutely mesmerizing to examine. Multi-strike errors occur when a coin fails to eject properly from the striking chamber after the initial strike. And when the press cycles again for the next coin, the dies come down and strike the same coin a second time, and in rare cases a third or even fourth time, with the planchet in a different position each time, resulting in multiple overlapping impressions of Jefferson's profile. Multiple Monticellos stacked on top of each other, and dates and mint marks that repeat across the coins surface in a chaotic but fascinating pattern. The 2012 P multi-strike nickel that sold for $1.8 million is particularly spectacular because it shows evidence of at least 3 separate strikes, with each strike rotated approximately 45 degrees from the previous one, creating this starburst pattern of design elements radiating out from the center of the coin. And if you examine it carefully, you can actually trace each individual strike and see how the dies progressively damage the coin's surface with each impact. This coin was discovered in the most ordinary way possible. It was received as change at a grocery store by someone who happened to glance at the nickel before dropping it in their pocket, and something about its appearance made them take a second look, and that second look revealed what was obviously an error of some kind, though they didn't know exactly what or how valuable it might be. After taking the coin home and photographing it, the finder posted images on a coin collecting forum asking for opinions. And within hours, the thread had hundreds of replies from excited collectors who recognized the significance of the error and strongly encouraged the poster to have it professionally authenticated immediately. The authentication process revealed several important details about the coin. First, the strikes were definitely made at the Philadelphia Mint using genuine 2012 P nickel dies, confirmed by comparing the minute details of the design and die markers to known genuine coins from that production run. Second, the multiple strikes occurred in rapid succession before the metal could cool between impacts, evidenced by the way the metal flowed and deformed under the repeated pressure. And third, the coin somehow survived the minting process and quality control without being caught and destroyed, which, given how visually obvious the error is, suggests either a catastrophic failure of the quality control process that day or perhaps intervention by a mint employee who recognized what they were seeing and intentionally allowed the coin to enter circulation. The grading services initially struggled with how to grade and categorize this coin because multi-strike errors don't fit neatly into the standard numerical grading scale used for normal coins. After much discussion and consultation with error specialists, the coin was assigned a special designation and a grade that attempted to capture both the condition of the highest quality strike visible on the coin and the dramatic nature of the error itself. When this coin was announced for sale, the numismatic press went wild with coverage, featuring it in newsletters, magazines, and websites dedicated to coin collecting, and the pre-auction publicity generated tremendous interest from collectors around the world who recognized they might never have another opportunity to acquire such a dramatic modern error. The auction itself was a testament to the enduring appeal of spectacular mint errors. Despite being only from 2012, a date that many people still consider modern and therefore less collectible than older coins, the bidding was fierce and competitive, ultimately reaching that remarkable $1.8 million final price that proved date doesn't matter nearly as much as rarity, visual impact, and the story behind the coin. Now, what makes this 2012 P nickel especially relevant to you watching this video right now is that 2012 was just over a decade ago, which means these coins are still heavily represented in current circulation, unlike the 1997 D coins, which have had nearly 30 years to be removed from circulation through attrition, or even the 2002 coins, which have had over 20 years to disappear. The 2012 nickels are still commonly encountered in everyday change, which dramatically increases your odds of finding error varieties from this year. When searching through 2012 P nickels Start by looking for anything that appears doubled or repeated. Multi-strike errors create obvious duplication of design elements that should immediately catch your eye even without magnification. Though using magnification will help you understand exactly what you're looking at and how many strikes the coin received. Check for rotational displacement. Multi-strike coins typically show rotated images. So if you see what looks like two or more overlapping designs that are turned at angles to each other, you've potentially found something valuable that warrants professional examination. Look for raised metal and deformation. The repeated strikes compress and displace metal in unusual ways, creating ridges, raised areas, and surface textures that don't appear on normal coins. So any coin that looks like it's been struck too many times or struck wrong deserves closer inspection. Examine the edges carefully. Multi-strike errors often show edge characteristics that are different from normal coins because the repeated strikes can cause metal to flow toward the edge or create unusual edge patterns and textures. And remember that even partial multi-strike errors, where you can only see evidence of two strikes instead of three or more, are still valuable and worth authenticating, because any genuine mint error that made it into circulation has collector value. The $1.8 million 2012 P nickel has become something of a celebrity in the coin collecting world, having been featured in museum exhibitions, displayed at major coin shows, and even mentioned in mainstream financial media as an example of how alternative investments like rare coins can yield extraordinary returns. The story of someone getting it in change at a grocery store and turning it into nearly $2 million has inspired thousands of people to start paying attention to their pocket change, which is exactly what the coin collecting hobby needs to thrive and grow. But beyond the specific details of this coin, what the 2012 P multi-strike nickel represents is hope and possibility. Hope that the next great numismatic discovery might be in your pocket right now, and possibility that ordinary people going about their daily lives can stumble upon extraordinary treasures if they just take the time to look carefully at the coins passing through their hands. This is what makes coin collecting such a democratic and accessible hobby. Unlike art collecting where you need galleries and dealers and specialized knowledge to even know what's available, or unlike real estate investing where you need substantial capital to participate, coin collecting allows anyone with pocket change to potentially discover something amazing, and the internet has made it easier than ever to research coins, share discoveries with experts, and connect with the global community of collectors who are always excited to help identify interesting finds. So now, after this incredible journey through 5 of the most valuable nickels ever discovered, each with its own unique story, dramatic errors, and million-dollar price tags, what should you do next? First, and most importantly, start looking at your coins. Make it a habit every time you receive change to actually examine the coins instead of just pocketing them blindly, because those few seconds of attention could literally change your life if you happen to spot one of these error varieties or discover a new error that hasn't been cataloged yet. Second, educate yourself about what to look for. Use online resources, join coin collecting forums, watch videos from reputable numismatists, and learn the basics of how to identify common error types so you'll recognize them when you see them. You don't need to become an expert overnight, but having a foundational understanding of double dies, broad strikes, wrong planchets, multi-strikes, and other major error categories will make your searching much more effective. Third, invest in basic tools. You don't need expensive equipment to start. Just a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe in the 5x to 10x magnification range. Good lighting so you can see details clearly, and maybe some basic coin holders or flips to protect potentially valuable coins once you've identified them. These simple tools will cost you less than $20, but could help you identify a coin worth thousands or even millions. Fourth, build relationships with reputable coin dealers and grading services. Find local coin shops where you can get honest opinions about your finds, Join recognized authentication services like PCGS or NGC when you have something that warrants professional certification. And network with other collectors both online and at coin shows so you have trusted experts to consult when you're unsure about a coin's authenticity or value. Fifth, be patient and realistic. Finding million-dollar coins is extremely rare, which is exactly why they're worth so much. But finding coins worth $10, $50, or even several $100s is much more common and still makes the hobby rewarding and potentially profitable. Don't get discouraged if you don't immediately discover the next great error, because coin collecting should be enjoyable regardless of whether you're finding treasures or just learning about the fascinating history and artistry of coinage. And finally, never stop learning. The field of numismatics is constantly evolving, with new discoveries being made, new varieties being cataloged, and new collecting trends emerging. So staying informed and connected to the collecting community will help you stay ahead of the curve and maximize your chances of recognizing valuable coins when you encounter them. As we close out this comprehensive look at ultra-valuable nickels, I want to leave you with one final thought that I hope will stick with you long after this video ends. The coins we've discussed today, from the $86 million 1997 D to the $14 million 2002 P, from the $3 million 2006 P to the $9 million 2002 D double die, and finally our $1.8 million 2012 P multistrike. These coins were all just ordinary nickels at one point, sitting in mint bins or cash registers or coin jars, indistinguishable from billions of other 5-cent pieces, except for the errors that made them special. And the only reason they're worth millions today is because someone took the time to actually look at them, to recognize something was different, to investigate further, and to preserve them for authentication and eventual sale to collectors who appreciated their rarity and significance. That someone could be you with the very next nickel you receive and change, the next roll you open from the bank, or the next old coin jar you inherit from a relative. The potential for discovery exists every single day, in every single transaction involving coins, and all it takes is awareness, attention, and the willingness to examine what most people ignore. The world of coin collecting has never been more accessible, never been more exciting, and never been more rewarding than it is right now. With resources available at your fingertips through the internet, authentication services that can verify your finds, auction houses ready to market your discoveries to the highest bidders, and a global community of collectors eager to share knowledge and celebrate new finds. So I encourage you, implore you even, to start your journey today. Dig out those old coins, scrutinize your pocket change, visit your local bank, and buy some rolls to search through, because somewhere out there, right now, there are more error coins waiting to be discovered, more stories waiting to be written, and more ordinary people whose lives could be changed by a 5-cent coin worth millions. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into the world of valuable nickels. And remember, the next time someone tells you that a nickel isn't worth much, you can smile to yourself knowing that some nickels are worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes. You just have to know what to look for, and now, after watching this video, you do. Keep searching, stay curious, and may your coin jars be filled with hidden treasures just waiting to be discovered. This has been the Numis Hunter, reminding you that fortune favors the observant, and sometimes the smallest coins can lead to the biggest discoveries.